In Australian schools, assessment drives learning. If there's one thing that preoccupies students during the examination period, it's the fear of failure and having to resit the dreaded supplementary examination. What is a supplementary exam? A supplementary exam is a form of further assessment offered to students who have not satisfied the passing criteria set by the educational institution for a particular course. Each institution has a different supplementary assessment policy. Common characteristics of supplementary examinations are: some institutions define a specific range to be eligible for a supplementary assessment, below which students have to repeat the unit. In other cases, there is also a limit to the number of units for which a student can be offered a supplementary assessment per semester. What's wrong with supplementary assessment? The biggest problem with supplementary examinations is the punitive nature of the assessment. It doesn't take into account circumstances which may have affected a student's performance on the day of examination. Read more: what causes mind blanks during exams? Factors like anxiety may play a role, especially in situations where students are directly observed by an assessor and when there were limited opportunities for them to practice. Supplementary assessment occurs very close to the final examination to ensure students can enroll in the next semester. This means there's very little time for students to prepare and for faculty to offer any meaningful help in achieving the desired outcome. There's evidence short-term help in this context has little to offer in terms of learning gains. From the faculty perspective, it adds to the workload, as academics have to prepare two sets of examinations with new and often equal numbers of items or scenarios for each set. Take, for example, a scenario from a medical exam in final year. A clinical examination is arranged where students are presented with 16 clinical scenarios for management. There are 200 students, of which 70% passed at least 12 scenarios. 5% could manage only 5 cases and 25% managed to pass between 6 and 11 scenarios. It's the performance of the 25% of students on the day that raises doubts about their role as an intern. We do not know the reasons for each student's poor performance, but they will all be required to sit a supplementary examination. Additional help is offered to students, which is intense and takes up a lot of time on the part of the academics. The supplementary assessment is offered after 6 weeks in a similar format with the same number of scenarios. Again, 5% of the students fail. There are still doubts about 5 other students in this group who are still on the margin, although they have managed to get through. Improvement in marks on average is not more than 11%. 4 to 6 weeks of focused teaching cannot compensate for the semester-long content of the course, and will result in marginal improvement. What we can do: the current system would be much improved by replacing supplementary assessment with a new model called sequential assessment and a shorter duration of final assessment. In the example discussed earlier, instead of 16, let's present 10 scenarios.